Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the 2004 NHL Draft, the best picks, the busts, and the steals all in between. Now, of course, this draft was most notably the battle between Malkin and Ovechkin, the two guys, the two Russian studs, going first and second overall. But it was a very, good draft. It was probably the second best that we've seen so far throughout the series. Of course, we've gone for the 2000 draft all the way up to the 2004 draft so far, and I think that was probably the second best one. You saw some stars, you saw some steals, you saw some busts in there, but I feel like overall it was a pretty good draft. Now, while it's coming off the 2003 draft, which obviously is the best of all time, it still had a pretty decent job. I mean, it isn't the 2003 draft by any means, but it's still a pretty decent one. So, of course, every single time we've looked at how many players in the first round have played more than an NHL game, and this time it was 2 players. In the 2003 draft, there were 0 players that did not play an NHL game drafted from the first round. In this draft, we see 2. Now, as we look to the top 3 of the draft, we have, of course, Alex Ovechkin, number 1. Definitely the consensus number 1 pick then, and now it definitely was the best pick then. You get at number 2, you have Evgeni Malkin again. The top 2 looking pretty decent there. The top 2 is pretty realistic and probably where you would go for today. And then at number 3, you have Cam Barker, who was drafted by Chicago, played about 300 games, and obviously was not what he probably should have been. Obviously not a top 3 pick looking back on it. Now, in the 2003 draft, we looked at players over 600 games played. We're going to tone it down a little bit back to 500 like we're doing for the rest of the series. I think that's pretty reasonable. Now, of course, starting off, you got Alex Ovechkin, the great 8, 1,003 games played, 607 goals, 515 assists, 1,122 points altogether. Drafted by Washington, of course, is up 3-1 over the Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals so far. Pretty reasonably going to win it, and honestly, of course, that's the consensus number 1 pick and the good one looking back on it. Number 2, you got second overall Evgeni Malkin, 784 games played, 370 goals, 560 assists for 930 points. I mean, he's missed quite a bit of time due to injury, which unfortunately sucks for him, but of course he's been out a points machine, and if he didn't miss those amount of games, it would have been a lot better of a career. Even so, he's had a fantastic one. Of course, originally drafted by Pittsburgh. You dump up a little bit to 4th overall to Andrew Ladd, 920 games played, 245 goals, 281 assists for 526 points, him being drafted originally by the Carolina Hurricanes. With the next pick, you got 5th overall Blake Wheeler, who has played 778 games, 222 goals, 383 assists for 605 points, him being drafted originally by the Phoenix Coyotes / Arizona Coyotes. Then 9th overall, you got Ladislav Smid, 583 games played, 12 goals, 60 assists for 72 points, drafted by Anaheim. Then you got 13th overall Drew Stafford, 784 games played, 191 goals, 224 assists for 415 points, him being drafted by Buffalo there. 14th overall, you got Devin Dubnyk, who has played 423 games played, as a career 916 save percentage, career is 255 goals against average, drafted by Edmonton. Of course, has been everywhere it seems like. You got Alex Radulov, who has only played 312 games, but I'm including him on here because if he didn't play in the KHL, he didn't have a lot of time in the KHL, he would have definitely been over 500 games. But in those 312 games, he has 92 goals, 136 assists for 228 points, him being drafted, of course, by Nashville. Now, for the last few picks of that first round, you got Lauri Kobkowski, 19th overall, 609 games played, 86 goals, 115 assists, 201 points, drafted by the New York Rangers. 20th overall, you got Travis Zajac, who played 842 games, 167 goals, 294 assists for 461 points. Him being drafted by the New Jersey Devils, him still playing there as well. 23rd overall, you got Andre Mazzaro, 645 games played, 63 goals, 175 assists for 238 points. Him being drafted by the Ottawa Senators. And you got 26th overall Cory Schneider, who has a career 920 save percentage, career 235 goals against average, and of course is on the New Jersey Devils right now. And last but not least, in the first round, you got Mike Green, 29th overall, 787 games played, 142 goals, 322 assists for 464 points, drafted by Washington. In that second round, you start off with Blake Como, 47th overall, 720 games played, 121 goals, 164 assists for 285 points, and being drafted by the New York Islanders. And you got 53rd David Booth, 530 games played, 124 goals, 112 assists for 236 points, and being drafted by Florida. Next, you got 56th overall Nicholas Grossman, 592 games played, 13 goals, 73 assists for 86 points, and being drafted by Dallas Stars. Then you got 60th overall Brandon Brandon Dubinsky, 762 games played, 147 goals, 277 points, or 77 assists, 424 points, and he drafted by the New York Rangers. Then you got last pick in the second round, Alex Goligoski, 61st overall, 722 games played, 73 goals, 275 assists for 348 points, and then he drafted originally by those Penguins. In the third round, you have Andrej Sekera, 71st overall, 683 games played, 45 goals, 187 assists for 232 points, him being drafted by Buffalo. Then you got 91st overall, Alex Edler, 758 games played, 84 goals, 250 assists for 334 points, and he drafted by the Vancouver Canucks. 97 overall, last pick in the third round, you got Johan Franzen, who's played 602 games played, 187 goals, 183 assists for 370 points, and he drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. In the fourth round, you have some more players there. Tyler Kennedy, 99th overall, 527 games played, 89 goals, 126 assists for 215 points, and being drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins there. 126th overall, you got Torrey Mitchell, 666 games played, ouch, but 67 goals, 85 assists for 152 points, and being originally drafted by the San Jose Sharks. And the last pick of that fourth round, note, you have 127th overall, Ryan Callahan, a bit of a steal there, 705 games played, 179 goals, 90 assists for 369 points, and being drafted by the New York Rangers. In the fifth round, you got a couple more guys. You got Christopher Stieg, 134th overall, 643 games played, 149 goals, 209 assists for 358 points, and being drafted by Boston Bruins. 150th overall, you got Mikhail Grabowski, 534 games played, 125 goals, 171 assists for 296 points, and being drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. In round 6, you got one player, and that one player is pretty elite. You got Roman Polak, 180th overall, 688 games played, 75 goals, 102 assists for 177 points. Drafted originally by the St. Louis Blues, and obviously a big steal there. But a mistake there. Roman Polak, 25 goals, 102 assists for 127 points. Still pretty elite, but not as elite. Let's be honest here, buddy. Hey, still pretty elite there. In the seventh round, you start off with Troy Brouwer, 214th overall, 763 games played, 169 goals, 72 assists for 341 points, and being drafted originally by those Chicago Blackhawks. 224th overall guy, you got Matt Hunwick, 521 games played, 25 goals, 92 assists for 117 points, and being drafted originally by the Boston Bruins. In round 8, you have one guy, and I think he's just too good right now. Pekka Rinne, 258th overall, 567 games played, 918 save percentage, 239 goals against average. Really drafted by Nashville. Of course, that's one of the biggest steals possibly ever. In round 8, you got Mark Streit, 262nd overall, 786 games played, 96 goals, 338 points, or 339 assists for 434 points. Originally by the Montreal Canadiens. 265th overall, you got Daniel Winnick, 798 games played, 82 goals, 169 assists for 251 points, and being drafted by the Phoenix Coyotes / the Arizona Coyotes. And then for the last pick in the draft, worth noting here, you got Yannick Hansen, 287th overall, 626 games played, 109 goals, 147 assists for 256 points, originally drafted by the Vancouver Canucks there. And that concludes a pretty decent overall draft. You saw some big stars come out from today in this draft. You saw some good middle players coming out of the third, fourth, fifth round. You saw some really good steals with Pekka Rinne, Troy Brouwer, Roman Polak. You saw some steals, you saw some busts, you saw some stars coming out of it. You saw pretty much everything. There was a little bit of a lack of star power from the first round. Of course, you got your Alex Ovechkins, you got your Malkins, you got your Blake Wheelers. There wasn't a ton in the first round, I guess, star power wise that we've seen. It was a bit of a lackluster first round, even though a lot of these guys played solid minutes. So there's a lot of decent players coming out of this draft. You didn't see too many stars, even though there was a few exceptions. You didn't see too many steals, even though, of course, there was one exception with Pekka Rinne. You saw a lot of solid players coming from this draft. And that's probably what I'm going to label this draft as, the 2004 draft. Pretty solid. I don't think it was anything more than that. Of course, it has some major steals, some major stars, but I feel like obviously it was just a all-around pretty solid draft. It wasn't one of the worst, it wasn't one of the best, but I think it was pretty good in that solid middle. Now for my top 5 from the draft. You gotta have Alex Ovechkin, number 1. I have him there. Number 2, I have Evgeni Malkin, of course, at top 2. already is looking pretty good. Number 3, I have Pekka too good right now. Obviously, a gigantic steal in that 8th round. I have Blake Wheeler at number 4. Obviously, has turned it on lately, but has always been a pretty solid player. And number 5, I have Cory Schneider, who, of course, has been pretty underrated for a long time. And that top 5, it isn't bad. It isn't bad at all. You have some great stars there. Alex Ovechkin, Evgeni Malkin, of course, them coming from this draft is obviously the big deal about it. But you saw a lot of solid, good, great players coming from this draft that people kind of give under the radar there. And once again, it is no 2003 draft. It isn't the best draft out there, but I still think it's one of the more solid ones that we'll look back on in the series. 2004 draft, not bad at all. But that's going up for today, guys. Guys, enjoy it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tell me down below what you thought of the 2004 draft. What do you think of the star power coming from it? What do you think of the steals? What do you think of the busts and everything in between? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.